Hello and welcome. In this video, you will learn about Samsung Access Point controllers. However, before we can talk about the controllers, it is very important for you to understand the different models of WLAN deployments available to businesses today. There's three main types that I want to discuss with you. The first one, standalone access points. What this means is that the access points are not centrally managed, and if more than one is deployed, they typically have to be individually programmed. This is manageable for a couple of access points, but past that it becomes very cumbersome to manage. The next model is controller-based. This means that the access points are all managed by a centralized controller that is either deployed on-site or remotely at another location. This could be something like a data center. Finally, you have the cloud-based architecture. This means that the APs will use the local internet connection to connect to a controller located somewhere on the internet. The user can then log into a website to manage the access points. This type of service typically comes with a monthly cost based on the number of access points deployed. Samsung's products fit in the first two categories. All of our access points have the ability to operate in standalone mode. This is very useful for customers, for smaller customers, or when performing site surveys. Primarily, our access points would connect back to one of two controllers. The APC 8500 is our enterprise level controller, and the APC 8050 is our SMB controller. In this video, you will learn all about the features offered by both controllers and the key differences between them. So let's jump in. So what you'll find with the Samsung Access Point controllers is that the key difference will lie in the hardware and capacity. The feature set will remain the same across both options. We'll cover these features in just a few minutes. First, let's look at the Samsung APC 8050. This APC comes in a 1U rack-mountable form factor and features 4 gigabit interfaces as well as a dedicated console port. The LED indicators will give you a visual indication of system, fan, and power status. The Samsung APC 8500 is also available in a 1U rack-mountable form factor and features 8 1 gigabit interfaces and 2 10 gigabit interfaces. This means that you can make a total of 28 gigabits of throughput available to the controller. This controller also features a dedicated console port as well as a dedicated management port. The USB port can be used for easily inserting or offloading files from the controller. Different from the 8050, the 8500 is available in both a single power supply model as well as a dual power supply model. The LED indicators will give you the status of both power supplies as well as the fan and system. Now that you're familiar with the hardware, let's talk a little bit about the capacity of the two controllers. When talking about capacity, there are two key elements to consider. First, how many access points can be associated, and second, how many stations can be associated. Let's talk about the access points first. The access points have two models of how they can route station data. In Model 1, or centralized mode, all of the user data is routed back over a secure encrypted tunnel to the controller, and then distributed into the wired network from the controller. In this model, the 8050 can support up to 75 access points, while the 8500 can support up to 1,000 access points. The second model, or distributed mode, the user data is distributed directly from the access point into the wired network. In this mode, the 8050 can support up to 200 access points, and the 8500 can support up to 3,000 access points. Now, after you've established the number of access points that the controller can support, let's get an understanding of the amount of stations. A station is simply a user of the wireless network. The 8050 can support up to 1,500 stations, while the 8500 can support up to 20,000 stations. But wait, there's more. The numbers we have discussed so far are based on a single 8050 or single 8500. The Samsung controllers also have the ability to be clustered together to increase capacity. The 8050 has the ability to cluster up to 2 controllers together for a maximum AP count of 150 centralized or 200 distributed access points. The 8500 has the ability to cluster up to 6 controllers together for a maximum AP count of 3,000 centralized or 3,000 distributed access points. While the 8050 does not see any increased station capacity due to clustering, the 8500 can expand the support up to 60,000 stations. Well, we have finally made it to the last section of this video. In this section, we're going to talk about some of the key features of the controller. Some of these features will be covered in more depth later in this video training series. So as you remember, we discussed the flexible architecture of the system and having both a centralized and a distributed model of data routing. And actually, it's not an either-or scenario. A single access point can contain multiple SSIDs, each having a different model of routing the data. For instance, in my home I have an access point with two SSIDs. One is called home and the other is work. If I authenticate to the home SSID, my data traffic never leaves my house. However, if I authenticate to the work SSID, my data is routed over an encrypted tunnel back to the corporate network at my office, allowing me to work remotely with ease. To take this concept one step further, we also have a model called split tunneling, which will allow us to use routing tables to decide which traffic stays local and which traffic is routed to the corporate office. Automatic cell optimization is key in a mobile-first environment. This feature allows the Samsung controllers to constantly monitor the wireless deployment and make tweaks along the way to make sure that your Wi-Fi coverage is constantly optimized. Did you know that if two access points are on the same channel and can hear each other, the throughput of both access points is cut in half? That could have a horrible impact on your network performance. The automatic cell optimization takes into account all of these access points and even non-802.11 devices when outlining a channel plan. It also adjusts the power level so that you can move from access point to access point without any loss of service. Finally, our APs have multiple antenna patterns that can be used. Based on where the clients are in the environment, the controller will choose the most appropriate antenna pattern to deliver the highest amount of signal level to those clients. Some of the other built-in capabilities include an authentication server, allowing for unique usernames and passwords to be used instead of common password that gets passed around. The firewall functionality can also come in handy when deciding what parts of the wired network can be accessed. And of course, we support layer 3 routing as well. So one of the cool features I like to deploy on a customer site is the captive portal. A captive portal is most commonly associated to a guest network. I'm sure that you've all seen it before when you sign in as a guest and you get rerouted to a web page asking you to accept the terms and conditions prior to being granted access. This just simply helps to make sure that your guests agree that they won't do anything that'll get you in trouble while they're using your network. This is a captive portal in its simplest of uses. There are many other ways to use a captive portal, including marketing and also offering a limited website that will provide valuable information and resources during your guest visit. In addition to having a built-in captive portal, Samsung offers a lobby ambassador feature that allows an employee to create temporary credentials for a guest that can be used during their stay. These credentials would eventually expire, keeping your network more secure. Samsung controllers also have the ability to perform deep packet inspection. This means that the controller is aware of the types of application being used and can take action based on a preset list of directions. We all love YouTube, and it does have some valuable business applications. With the deep packet inspection feature, it is no longer a yes or no policy. We can say yes as long as you don't hog all of the bandwidth. Deep packet inspection gives the controller the ability to identify applications and apply a rule set around those applications, such as bandwidth throttling. The voice quality monitor functionality gives a network administrator the ability to review SIP traffic across the wireless LAN. It'll keep track of specific sessions that are easily identifiable, and most importantly, it will keep track of the network statistics associated with that particular session, such as jitter and mean opinion score for both transmit and the receive side of the conversation. If a problem call is identified, it can be tracked back to the actual APs that the call was carried across to assist in the troubleshooting process. Finally, the APC has the ability to be programmed via web interface or through the command line. The web interface is very intuitive and easy to navigate. The command line offers some advanced troubleshooting tools as well as the ability to incorporate scripting for rapid deployments. These are just a few of the many features available on our controller. For a complete list, please reference the system description. Thank you for your time today and watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.